Hey friends, in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a Zentangle snowflake collage. We're going to start with the background and then cut up a piece of paper to add our snowflake. There are many different ways you can do this with many different color schemes. Here I chose a little monochromatic, one color, many shades. Previously you saw the rainbow. Of course, I love classic black and white with a colorful snowflake on top, but it is your choice. You choose any color scheme you want, any color families, primary, secondary, tertiary, analogous, warm, cool, complementary, neutral. There are so many choices. Go for it, whatever you think is best. What we're going to do first, however, is the background. We need to separate our background into sections using different lines we know. This is your pattern. You can design your background in any which way you like. Just make sure you're not scribbling and scrabbling all over the place so you have a bunch of teeny tiny sections, because it will be much harder to put clear patterns in each section. Here I use zigzag lines starting from a side point all the way across my paper. Over here, I just use kind of a starburst idea with mostly diagonal lines. Same kind of composition here, but instead of diagonal straight lines, I used curvy lines. I really love this checkerboard pattern there. Some more curvy lines. And here's another zigzag piece where I started over here with 3 zigzag lines and then over here with 2, just to separate my paper a bit more. So now let's separate our background using lines. I think I'm gonna use zigzags because I like that composition. Remember to do this carefully and slowly. Zentangling should be a peaceful process, so make sure you take your time. There's no need to rush. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. I think I want a few more. So I'm gonna divide my paper this way. This looks like a good spot to start in, so I'm gonna do that right there. Awesome. This is a pretty big spot over here, so maybe I'll just add one more there. Cool beans. I am ready to add my Zentangle patterns. Your patterns could be as simple as polka dots, some nice pepper. Remember, if you are making little dots in your sections, don't wind up and smack your your marker down. Pretend it's a paintbrush. What would happen if you smacked your paintbrush down really hard? Nothing good, I assure you. So be gentle, like a feather, if you're making small little dots. I also don't want you to repeat the same pattern twice. I mean, if you have like 20 sections, it's okay if you repeat one more than once, but try to change it up as best you can. So they can be as simple as little dots and little squiggles, little lines, or you can Google some patterns and textures. If you Google Zentangle patterns, you can get really cool designs. So as you see, there are all different lines and shapes within these patterns. Honestly, whatever you think of is cool beans, as long as it's a repeating design. We want patterns, so don't just draw a smiley face somewhere, because we want it to be full and rich of lines and shapes that you know. I'm gonna work on this. I will see you when it's finished. Now that I'm done with my Zentangled background, which I did slowly and carefully, hopefully just like you, it's time to cut out our snowflake strips. Now, I am not going to use this white piece of paper For my snowflake, I'm going to use a bright neon green that I have, but I have already cut these strips with my paper cutter. So if you have a paper cutter nearby, or you can ask an adult for help, these are about 1/2 inch. But if you don't have a paper cutter, then you are going to follow these instructions to cut out your strips. You're going to need a piece of paper, hold it the, landscape way, sideways. Grab a ruler or a straight edge. A straight edge might be the edge of your book or a binder that you have. And then what I want you to do is use your Muppet grip. I call this the Muppet grip. The open-mouthed Muppet grip. Because if you hold your ruler from one end, the other side will shake. If you hold it with your Muppet grip, 2 spots, doesn't move as easily because you're holding it down in 2 places. That's important. Now, if you don't want to measure 1/2 inch, it's fine. Hold your ruler, use your pinky finger to sort of guess. All right, it's about a pinky width thick. And then whoosh, draw your line, same thing. 1, 2, got it. If it's off a little bit, that's fine. If it's off a lot of bit like that, not as great. You're going to make 6, maybe 7 of these strips. I don't think you need to watch me cut those out, so I'm gonna scoot that out of the frame for now. And I have here my background and my strips. Now, I advise you to use a piece of scrap paper to glue on top of. I'm just going to use the back side of this paper that I have here. Pretty good. And you're going to start with 3 strips. You can keep the others nearby because we will be using those. But first, let's arrange our pieces. You're gonna need 3, okay? But I suggest you put them on your page first to figure out where exactly you want your snowflake to go. The way we assemble it is by producing a smooshed X. See that? So this would be like a regular X. Smoosh it, smoosh it, smoosh it like that. And you can have it over here. You could have it up here. It can go off your page, no problem, because you can always, always, always trim it. I think I'm gonna put mine over here today. I rarely do it on this side. I always start here, but I don't know, I like the idea of it here. All right, I have my X, smush it, and then of course, you add a vertical strip down. And notice it's hanging off the edge a little bit. I will trim that later. So I am gonna go ahead and glue these. Now, as you see, my bottom strip is sticking off. You can either fold it underneath or just use your scissors to cut off that little edge. It's no problem. I'm just gonna put that little scrap here because it's gluey. Awesome. Now it's time to add a few flourishes to your snowflake. I'm gonna fold this in half so I don't have too much glue on it. And I'm gonna take my 3 strips here and I'm just gonna stack them on top of each other to make these smaller sections. They're about like 3 fingers wide, but I'm just guessing. So there's 1 snip, which gives me 3 pieces because I'm holding 3 strips. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna make a set of slightly smaller ones because I have a plan for what I wanna do. Here's what I recommend. Less is more here, because if you add too many strips around your snowflake, your background's gonna disappear, and we don't want that. You worked so hard on that Zentangle background, keep it in view. So don't add strips to the center like this. See how it gets really crowded really quickly? So I would say that is a no-no. And remember, anything you add to each section of your snowflake tendril, I think that's what they're called, you've got to make sure it's the same on all sides. Now this one up here actually would extend down, so maybe this second strip won't be there. But anyways, it would look like this. I'll show you my pattern. This way I could choose to do a couple of, you know, designs like that. Maybe I'll put this one half on, half off like this. Yeah, probably. And then add another strip. These are just horizontal lines this way, but you don't have to do that. You can create a design any which way you want. You could do a couple of diagonal lines like that, but keep it to about like 4. Like if you're gonna do this pattern, 4, and if you're gonna do the other sideways pattern, maybe 2. But honestly, it's your choice. If you want it to be less crowded, cut thinner strips. If you have silly scissors, the one with the cool funky edges, feel free to use those too. You can create some really awesome patterns. And if you cut out your strips with those fun edges, you know, the ones with zigzags and curvy lines, you could create a really cool snowflake with lots of texture. I'm gonna go ahead and glue my little extra pieces now. Lovely. Now I am going to trim off this little piece here. Donezo. And I am almost finished. If you love the way it looks, stop here. No problem. There's a few other little extras that I wanted to show you though, just to give your snowflake a little pop. If you want to, you could add a drop shadow to your piece by adding some pencil lines next door to each piece and then rubbing it in like that. And that will create a really cool shadow. It'll look like your snowflake is falling onto the page. But if that seems like too much work for you, or if you did it in color and you don't want to take away from it, one thing I recommend is going back over with your Sharpie and outlining your snowflake. This will make it pop a little more from your background. If you really don't want to do this, don't do it. It's your choice. But I like the way it really makes it pop. So I will do this quick and see you on the other side when I am finished. And there you have it. All finished. You will see I went a little quickly when I was outlining, so there's a few imperfections there, but it's cool beans. Notice how with the additional outline, it really pops off the page. Here's a version of where I did not outline it. It still looks totally awesome, but can you spot the difference? Yeah, it really, really pops when you outline it, especially when you add color as well. I hope you have fun creating, and I cannot wait to see some magical Zentangle snowflakes. Have fun.